What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is going to be your review for 20 Season 2, Episode 6. So, we open up this episode. We have Mia walking, going live on her Instagram. She has become totally obsessed with this phone. She went from one extreme to the other, honey. And she is walking. She ends up dropping her phone. And who she run into? Tristan. Now, Tristan is the guy from last season who didn't even have a cell phone, wasn't even going live, and all that good stuff. He done went from that to having a phone, being on social media. Remember at the beginning of the season, she saw that he was going live on social media like once a week or twice a week or something like that. So they run into each other and they end up vibing and having a conversation. And he was like, she said, so how you doing? And he was like, girl, don't play. Like, I see you up in my, my stories all the time. Like, that's the one thing about Instagram. Instagram will tell you, like, unless you're using a fake account and you go into somebody's live, it pop up on the screen. You liking somebody's picture, you scroll. Listen, Instagram will tell on you, okay? And so he said, well, how you doing? She was like, I know you follow me too, And so they kind of talked about that. So she was like, it's weird because the people online, I kind of feel like they're closer to me than my own family. And he was like, well, your family don't have your back. And she was like, they just don't get it. They don't understand me. They don't get me, He said, yeah, I feel the same way too. I'm kind of the black sheep of my family. Then they kind of talked about why does black have to always be bad, right? So then he was like, well, would you be interested in going on a hike with me sometime? And she was like, yeah, I think I would, So that was cool. So then we see Hattie down to the weed spot. And Adina is in the weed spot. And she's talking about, what you doing here? And she was like, girl, you turned me on to this place. What you talking about? So they get to talking. And she was like, so how'd everything go with Ida? She was like, oh, you're just going to go straight for the jugular. But she told her, she said, listen, I told Ida that I'm not here to be her plaything. And we need a break. Like, she said it hurt for a while. But, I'm better about it now. And Adina was like, okay, cool. She said, well, she said, would you like to go on a date with me, Hattie? And, Adina was like, are you serious? Like, where's this coming from? And she was like, well, I just was hoping that maybe this is something, that we could go out on a date. And she said, Hattie, listen, I don't have time for games. Like, don't play with me. Don't play games. Like, I'm not here for you to be a toy to pick up. Something to pass the time until Ida call. Like, if you asking me out on a date, you better mean it. And you better really mean it. And Hattie was like, no, I really mean it. Like, we vibe and we get along. And I think we need to figure out if there's more to it than that. Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm not playing games with you. So she agrees to let Hattie take her out on a date, honey. She said, I'm agree to let you take me out on a date. So Mia and Tristan are on their hike, and Mia is obsessed with the comments that people are leaving. People are dogging her out about her character on the show, talking about that it's superficial, it's over the top. And Tristan was like, well, I mean, your character is a bit much. And she was like, but it's a soap opera. Like, it's supposed to be extra. Like, nobody says anything about the black soap operas when they're extra. Like, that's what a soap opera is. And he was like, yeah, but, there aren't really a lot of roles for black people on TV, so maybe we just need to be more mindful when we're on television about what we're putting out there. And she was like, really? So she just kept stopping and reading her comments, and now she's in a bad mood. And I saw this coming before it even came. Tristan was like, listen, why are you letting people online whose opinions of you, why are you letting it get to the point where it is affecting your mood? Like, I am not having a good time at this point because you have allowed these comments to totally affect your mood. And so let me take you back to the car so I can take you home because this is no longer enjoyable for me. And I understood where he was coming from. Like, I felt him 100%. Like, I understood where he was coming from and I felt him because I was like, why are you allowing these people's opinions of you to affect your mood? And again, I get it. It's hard not to. I get that. But at a certain point, you got to drop the phone. Put the phone down. Like, just don't look at it. If you want to be obsessed with the comments, be obsessed after your date. Be in the moment. And then the second part, again, be in the moment of, you're on a whole date with a man, girl. If you don't enjoy what's going on and keep it moving. So anyway, later on, we see Mia sleep on the couch and somebody is knocking at her door, honey, and it is her sister. Her sister has flowers. Somebody left flowers at the door. And the flowers are from Ben, you know. And her sister's like, oh my goodness, who's Ben? And, you know, and she said, Ben is just cool. Like, he's not somebody I can actually date. She's like, why can't you date him? She was like, because he's just obsessed with making movies everybody's gonna like. Like, I cannot, I can't date him. So the sister was like, listen, I'm here. Mommy sent me here to talk some sense into you. So it sounds like, I'm going to just cut through the bullshit. It sounds like she comes from probably an upper middle class family, and acting is not what they have for her. She was supposed to, go to school, get a good job, find a good man, get married, have some babies. And her sister has done that. And because she's not following that path and she's not doing that, then her family thinks that she is just crazy and isn't, living in reality. And she needs to leave this, boho lifestyle and come back to wherever they live and find herself the man of her dreams and have some babies. And she's like, listen, that's not what I want for myself. Like, when are y'all gonna figure out that this is what I want? This is my life. This is what I've chosen to do. And I'm happy. And she was like, yeah, well, I'm going to stay here a couple of days until, because I promised Mommy I would talk some sense into you. Now, honestly, and before we even got to the next scene, I said, oh no, her and her perfect husband and their perfect life are having some problems, and she coming down there to stay with her sister to get away from that man. I bet you in the next episode, he going to be calling or he going to come looking for her. But anyway, she made it seem like she's staying because the mama want her to stay. But then they're going to put Hattie out, talking about, well, I can only have one house guest at a time, so Hattie, it's time for you to go. I thought that was kind of fucked up. Like, why Hattie got to leave? Because your sister just, I know that's your sister, don't get me wrong. But she just decided to show up out the clear blue. No call, no warning, no nothing. So now Hattie literally just got to find somewhere else to go. I thought that was kind of fucked up. But Hattie ended up moving in with the white girl, Remember at the engagement party, she let Hattie know that she had an extra room. So Hattie was like, listen, this is only temporary because, yeah, this is temporary. So the three friends are having dinner or lunch or brunch or whatever with Mia's sister. And they were talking about soulmates, and they were talking about falling in love, and they were talking about what they were looking for and why they weren't married yet. And baby, the sister went on this whole diatribe about what they're waiting for just does not exist. You are looking for a soulmate, and that is not real. You are looking for somebody that you're gonna get along with all the time, that y'all gonna have things in common, that y'all gonna always be passionate about, that's gonna give you some good sex on a regular basis, that's gonna do all of these things, and that's just not real. That is not the reality of the world that we live in. You need to go out here and find you a good friend, somebody that you can travel with and enjoy some time with, and that is it, and that is all. Y'all are looking for something that just doesn't exist. And they are all looking around and looking at each other like, damn. And so Mia said what everybody else was thinking. She was like, girl, you just in your feelings because you the one that's in a marriage that's boring. But of course, it's hitting Marie hard because Marie is thinking about the whole situation with her and Chuck and them exploring other things outside of their relationship before they get married. And so later on that night, Marie goes home. Chuck is out down to the gay bar, honey, exploring his newfound, openness of his sexuality. And she's at home lonely, but he down to the bar meeting folk, okay? He met a guy, and he nervous and everything. His first time down to the gay club, but he did meet somebody, a nice little chocolate thing, too. He was a pretty little chocolate thing. So Trisha ends up coming over to the house to apologize to Mia. Now, me personally, I feel like Mia owed him an apology because I feel like she was the one that ruined the date. But he said, I'm working on my honesty, and I feel like maybe I was a little too honest. He said, I need to work on my delivery. Like, I don't have to be brutally honest. And Mia was like, I receive it, but you have to understand that we just have different experiences, and our experience with social media is going to affect us differently. And in my mind, I'm like, but what he said to you wasn't wrong, in my opinion. And I don't even think his delivery was wrong. I don't think he owes you an apology at all. And I was waiting for her to apologize to him because I was like, girl, you were rude to him. You need to apologize to him. But she didn't apologize. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm the only one that feel like she owed him an apology. I don't know. So while this is going on, Hattie is on her date with Adina. Baby, they had a beautiful date. They were talking, and Hattie was like, well, why did you start? What made you get into writing? And Adina was like, why do first dates always feel like job interviews? And she was like, well, I do have to ask questions to get to know you. She was like, okay, but let's ask some silly questions, right? So she was like, if you had to choose to eat macaroni and cheese or ice cream for the rest of your life, which one would you choose? And Hattie was like, well, since I'm lactose intolerant, I guess I would just starve. And she was like, see, I need to know that, And so then she was like, what is something that you wish you weren't good at? And she said, well, I wish I wasn't good at giving advice because I feel like people would stop bringing me their problems. And Hattie was like, oh, is that some shade? And she was like, no, it's really not. Because you ain't the only one that does that. She said, but I feel like I'm always giving of myself. And when I need somebody, they're not there for me. So I kind of wish that wasn't it. So then she asked Hattie, well, what do you wish you were good at? And Hattie was like, love. She was like, I wish I was good at love. And Adina was like, you could be good at love. And Hattie said, well, I think you already are. And the way this scene was shot, like the whole cinematography of this scene, I thought was absolutely beautiful. It was very reminiscent of like a Spike Lee scene. Not the moving sidewalk situation, but the way Spike Lee films a lot of intimate scenes. It was very reminiscent for me, it was very reminiscent of that. And I thought that they just had a really good conversation and it got really deep. And they were talking about love and exploring that. And then later on, we saw them in the bedroom, and Hattie was like, "Oh my goodness! Like I've done this so many times, but I don't even know where to start." And Adina was like, "Well, we don't have to have sex. Like we could just kind of fool around and see what happens." And so they kissed, and Hattie was like, "Oh my gosh, that was just beautiful." And then they kind of, get into some other things. But I thought this was a really great episode. I feel like we focused on love and not so much on lust and sex. And so I thought it was a really good conversation, a really good episode. Y'all let me know what y'all think, though. Drop it in the comments. Peace.